What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends, and a good morning to you all. A happy Split 2 opening day. We've got just a very short regular season, and that means we got to get right into the nitty-gritty of things. Not much time before we start eliminating teams, start our playoff bracket up, and start figuring out which teams will be heading on to the LTA North promotion tournament at the end of the year. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, it is game day. I'm so excited to be here and so excited to get the NACL started again.
Dude, I am so excited as well because as we're about to talk about, the league is kind of fucking stacked. I'm not going to lie. Like, we talked a lot about, how maybe the NACL felt weaker last split or this or that. That is not the case this split. We are retooled and we are ready to go. Big shout outs to every single person that filled out our community power rankings. We got a good few responses. Make sure you're in our Discord so you don't miss a beat as far as, fun announcements like that, fun game nights, Counter-Strike, global esports, as well as NACL talk. It's all happening in the Salty Runback Discord. Make sure you join. And fuck, it is going to be a good split, dude. We got 4 weeks of regular season. Yeah, that's it.
I am curious what you think, because we were saying, I was saying that, oh man, the league is kind of stacked. I was having some conversations about that. I think balanced is like maybe the more accurate term. When you compare to like a couple of years ago, like the different players that have kind of left the space, gotten promoted, come around. Maybe like in terms of pure strength, the league was stronger, back a couple of years ago. But it definitely feels like a very balanced season, a lot of parity, even more parity than last split, than split number one, honestly, yeah. Where even the teams at the top feel like they can be contested by pretty much anybody out of these 10 squads, these 10 rosters that are going to be starting to play up tomorrow.
Yeah. I would at least say the NACL is stronger than it was last split. It's maybe on par with where it was like a year ago or two, definitely 2 years ago. But regardless, I definitely agree. A lot of parity. I mean, it's going to be hard to even say goodbye to 2 teams off rip, much less then once we get into the best of 5s. Oh my word, what a bloodbath it's going to be, especially because I believe with the 18 best of 5, is it 7th and 8th start in the lower bracket, or is it everybody starts in upper?
That's a great question.
Like, is it? I don't know if it's 7th and 8th start lower bracket, and then like 1st, 2nd get a bye, or if everyone starts upper bracket. Regardless, it's going to be an 18 double elimination bracket, and that was
everybody starts in upper bracket.
Okay, everyone starts upper bracket, and that was super fun to watch last summer. You can just think of like some of the narratives that happened, and like we had like multiple game 5s that were like fucking insane to watch. That we've talked about in the past. So it's going to be a great season. And we put together a community power ranking that's sort of going to serve as the guide for us as we go through each of the 10 teams, telling you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I think this is a fun way to do it. We did our player cards last time around where it's like basically just our decisions. And, we got some feedback about, hey, maybe you guys don't know this, don't know that about certain things. And so maybe the best way to do it is to leave it to the people, which is why we are conducting our NACL 2025 elections. We got 16 total responses, including Hawk and myself, power ranking all 10 of the teams, as well as all of the players that are going to be competing in the league. We're going to go through the players at the end. I think that's a little bit harder to really dive into. I think the more fun thing is to go through each of the rosters and how they're going to operate, as well as, just what we think about them overall. And I think doing this exercise, Hawk, really made me realize, unironically, 2 through 9, were very, very difficult to rank, and it feels like a situation where there's not really tiers. It's almost like everybody's kind of on the same playing field, which is really fun, especially because the winners have so much at stake. This is really like a win now, have to perform league now that we are in this current setting, now that we are ready for the promotion tournament.
Especially with this split, like sort of being a course correction, if you will. I feel like there's a lot of players that have come back after like a split or 2 off. And so I feel like it was kind of hard to rate teams based on like how good do I think they are right now, or like what's their ceiling, like I think that was something I was sort of grappling with. I think there's a lot of players playing the NACL that like have not necessarily shown us their best league in the calendar year of 2025. And that makes them very difficult to rate. And we'll kind of talk about a lot of those players as we go, because do we think they're going to live up to the expectations that they've set for us in the past? We have no reason to believe that they won't. But how do we rate those guys that have been balling out this year, but maybe they've not hit those same heights? And so I think it makes things so incredibly challenging. I've also got to say, a lot of people, they love to flame us for our takes, as they should, players especially. Let us know when you're able to prove us wrong. You earn that. Absolutely. We're just some guys talking about the game. You're the ones that actually are risking everything by playing it. And so, but anyway, people like to flame our takes, and I'm just gonna say, Grapes and I did not weight our takes any higher. Ours were rated the same as every other ballot, like a true democracy should be. And man, the Salty Runback community has some dog shit takes. So I'm so happy that everyone's gonna make us look. Everyone's gonna make us realize we all got bad takes, baby.
Everything is anonymous, so we have no idea who.
We have no idea who.
Where.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know who filled out the ballot, honestly. But thank you to everybody who did. If you, again, as Hawk mentioned at the top of the show, if you want to be a part of some of this stuff in the future, you should definitely check out our Discord. It'll be linked down below. But without further ado, let's get into these NACL power rankings. We're gonna go 10-1. And unfortunately, for this team, we're going to be starting off with Vancouver Impact, the newest organization entering the league as they, I guess, acquired the spot from Jolly Rogers. And good on them for retaining the entire roster. But consensus was across the board, this is likely going to be our last place team.
Yeah, and I'm just going to do a quick spoiler. Vancouver Impact is one of only 2 teams that didn't have their highest ranking be top 2. And in fact, their highest ranking was only 9th, which I think that is the most telling story. Whether you think the league has a lot of parity or we had some jokers filling out their ballots by rating some of the other teams top 2, there were believers in every single squad. Unfortunately, there are just not really believers in the Vancouver Impact. And I do think for good reason. This is the team that barely scraped into the NACL from the promotion tournament after Dorado and Citadel made, pretty short work of both of their brackets. And I think it's fair to say this top side has either not, in the top side's case, not shown us too much in their NACL careers, or in the case of Sudsy Zeven Nukes, they've never played here. And so expectations are not super high. I think they absolutely deserve to be here. Someone has to be 10th. But yeah, this team's probably the worst. I had them 10th personally.
I think I did too. However, I think to their credit, it's not going to be a situation like
it's not a pulse situation
last year.
It's
where
not a pulse situation.
This team is going to be competitive against a lot of these teams. I just don't think they necessarily have the firepower on their roster right now to justify a power ranking higher than last place. Is there a world where they dodge relegation and they end up finishing in the top 8 and making the playoffs? I think there definitely is a chance, especially with best of ones, especially with some of these players maybe having champion pool constraints, specifically, well, maybe not constraints, but somebody like Dragoon, I think could operate well in these best of ones where he just gets a really cool sick R5 counter pick and there's nothing that the other team can really prepare for, or they can't bounce back from it going into the next games. That is what I'm excited to see with this team, and also excited to see the new additions to the league with Sudsy, Zeven Nukes all making their debuts. I think Zeven Nukes had up and downs in their promotion tournament. I think Zev specifically showed it a lot more than what I remember him being back when he was on Team Ambition in 2023. I thought I'm excited. I'm actually kind of excited to see what he has here in the league. And Nukes is another player that I'm super excited about. He's been great this year specifically. And of course, we all know Sudsy finally getting his opportunity to play in the league.
Sudsy, Dragoon, and Will all absolutely deserving to be here. Dragoon has proven time and time again that he deserves to be here. Will has as well. I think Sudsy finally getting his shot is deserved. I'm very curious to see what his form is going to be. He was a series deciding game merchant in the promotion tournament. It was crazy, man. He was so bad for the first 2 to 4 games of each series, and then fucking deciding game he was faker. It was insane. And then I think Nukes has, as you alluded to, showed us a lot in 2025. I also think compared to expectations, Zev has showed us a lot too. I will say just to put expectations, which Graves, I'm realizing we left a couple Pulse logos here. That's misleading. That is unintentional. Those logos are not meant to be there.
Hold on. If that's true, I'm gonna go and fix it real quick.
Yeah, if you want to go fix the slideshow, I'll vamp here. But I do think like Zev,
we're good.
He's gotten a lot stronger over the course of 2025. I do think he's like, in my opinion, the like happy to be here player. Don't know if he's an NACL caliber yet. I think he's going to learn a lot from this. He's learned a lot over the last year. His form has improved a lot. And like you said, I'm really curious to see what Nukes gives us. He had some amazing moments in the OQs in the promotion tournament. He was great in CLOL on a not that great team. I'm really curious.
This to me feels like a roster of similar caliber, similar strength to like an Apex Mission Impossible going into the split last year, where they're definitely
even maybe a little stronger. I think this top side is like an NACL top side. It's just like a weak NACL top side. So
it's just a world where they're going to be not many expectations. They'll be the underdog in almost all the series that they play, but I think the games that they do play, they'll have a legitimate chance in almost all of them.
Yeah, I think we will see some very fun games from this team. I do not think they should go 0-9. I don't even know if they'll go 1-8. And remember, you only have to win probably like 3 games to dodge relegation, which is huge. So Vancouver Impact, unfortunately 10th, but I think still a team to be excited about. And I mean, friends of the show on this team, I think they should be very happy to be here, but I don't mean that in the condescending way. I mean like in the seize their moment kind of way, where like I think this team, and specifically like some of these players like Sudsy, Zev, Nukes, I think they have a great opportunity to show us what they're capable of.
Yeah, they never had this chance before. Now's their time to prove it. I know Sudsy's kind of hopped up and down or been in situations where he should have been able to play in the league and then, has not gotten that opportunity for one way or
Grapes,
the other.
This team was almost a TikTok Tony Top situation too, which is the craziest part. Shout out to Vancouver Impact.
Shout out to Vancouver Impact. I'm excited to learn
the
more
Jolly Rogers.
About this organization because NACL didn't announce this. Vancouver Impact didn't announce that this was a team.
Which does not inspire confidence, but thank you to Vancouver Impact regardless.
I do remember this organization, I think, submitted some OQ rosters back in like
they
2023.
have. They have
None
existed.
Of them are particularly good, but they are like some organization that competes in something. Right?
They've been in the space, and they've got a regional identity. I don't know if any of these players are Canadian, but they have a regional identity, which I always appreciate. And yeah, I mean, hey, this team's playing in the league, and they didn't make any changes as well, Grapes. Which there was actually rumors that they might be making changes specifically towards the bottom lane. I'm glad they're sticking with their rookies. Let's see what Zev and Nuke's got. They're probably the weakest bottom lane in the league, but somebody's got to be there, and who knows, they could really surprise us.
Yeah, one of 3 rosters that did not, or 4 rosters, I should say, that did not make any changes from Split 1 to Split 2. As I say that, let's move on to a team that did make some changes and is sitting at number 9. That
Grapes, they all have the pulse look.
Otter. That's not okay. I'll go and change that in a second. Let's talk about Blue Otter though, because this is a team that you might be surprised to see here at number 9. Their original announced roster included Keel in the jungle position to go alongside Quacker, Samick, and Chrome, and Rovex. However, due to personal reasons, one way or the other, Keel is unable to play the split. We wish him the best. That means that Lojaz is reunited with Samikin from the Abandoned Kittens days. He'll be playing in the jungle here for this squad after an interesting, I would say, solid split on AMI. However, I think that this jungle change did not inspire a ton of confidence. And again, a lot of parity in the league. This team ends up being number 9.
Yeah, the way I see Blue Otter, I also had them 9th personally. I'm going to give my personal rating for every team. Grapes doesn't have to. We kind of said we wouldn't, but like, I don't know. I'll stake my claim. I also had Blue Otter 9th. Honestly, I see them as very similar to Vancouver Impact. I think their top side is a similar level of skill, maybe a little bit better. Like, I think Quacker and Samikin are pretty good. Definitely NACL players. I'm happy to see Lojaz back. I think he has the sauce and the ability to learn. The problem is he's a big downgrade from Keel. The biggest difference for me with Blue Otter is that Chrome and Rovex are a much better bottom lane than Zev and Nukes, and they are what is going to keep this team very, very competitive in my eyes. I think Chrome is coming off of the best split of his career by quite a wide margin, and I think Rovex has, maybe to the surprise of a lot of people, honestly, myself even included, I think he's been a very consistently high-performing NACL support. I think Rovex is quite good. And I think this bottom lane is quite good. Yes, I have this team 9th because I think I perceive their top side as being a little bit weak, But like, this is immediately a team that I'm like, I don't want to play them, especially if they make playoffs.
Yeah, because last time they made playoffs, things went pretty well for them, where they went on that giant run, which ended up in, I think, a reverse sweep over Supernova, going all the way to top 4, which was like awesome for this team that just came from the OQs. We're starting to see a bit of a departure from what that original team looked like, though. Only Samikin and Rovex remain, if you had to say goodbye to Music as he's now joined a new team. But I had this team 9th as well. It would have been a much harder decision. I probably wouldn't have been 9th if Keel was on the team. And that's kind of, I think having Keel be like a secondary or tertiary carry would have really helped this team. And this team is going to go as far as Samikin and Chrome are going to be able to take them. And I guess that is, this is really a lot of pressure and a lot of good opportunity, I would say, for those guys to prove that they can be like the 1A on a solid team here in Tier 2. And, if you have aspirations of going pro, that is the first step that each of these guys are going to have to take.
I got to say, personality-wise, Chrome is a great addition to this team. Like, holy fuck, what a vibe in the bottom lane. Aaron and Rovex, man. Like, that's a great bot lane. Just like vibes-wise. I think also kind of going into a lot of people's ratings, I know this went into my rating, Grapes, is I think people remember what happened last split with Blue Otter, a very disappointing 7th place showing from them. And I think most people would agree this team is worse. Chrome is a little bit better than Levitate, but Levitate is still a very good AD carry, right? Like, I don't think he's that outclassed by Chrome. And I do think just objectively, Low Jazz is a downgrade from Music as well. And so I do think that is weighing on a lot of people's minds. Now, I do wonder if like maybe like it's the kind of thing where like a change of pace could really shake things up. Like maybe Samikin and Quacker will kind of refine their fire. I thought Samikin had a very quiet spring split in NACL. So like who knows, maybe the changes will help this team reinvigorate itself. But I think that is definitely something weighing on people's minds is like they didn't have a great spring split, and this roster I think is pretty unanimously considered to be weaker on paper.
I also don't think that the placement of Blue Otter last year was necessarily like what them on paper should have been as well, which I think we also have to take into account, right?
True.
Like even though they ended up, out of the playoff picture, that probably was not our expectation. That if you played that same season like 100 times, I think more often than not they would end up making the playoffs versus missing it, or you can make that argument one way or the other, but I don't think you can just take like last split's result. There's like other
no, of course
we should also take.
I just like I think it's definitely in people's minds though as they were doing their power rankings, especially when we talk about how good most of the NACL feels like it's going to be this split.
Yeah, I think a lot of other rosters have made upgrades, which is helpful for them as well. Shout out to the one guy who ranked at them number 1. I have a sneaking suspicion that they might be associated with the org in some way, but we have no way of knowing. It was anonymous.
Do you know what the highest rating other than 1 was? Maybe for the people back home.
You wanna let us know?
Probably like 4th. I would have to guess.
Let me take a look real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and pull up our Google sheet that we have because I'm kind of curious. Aside from like hey, you guys are more than welcome to cope for your teams. I mean, genuinely, I think that's what makes the community ranking fun. We didn't want to omit ballots that we thought were troll because like I think it makes it fun. If you want to shill for your team. Bro, I know Shibby is going to be somewhere in our comments saying, you're a Low Jazz. Yeah. Maybe he's the one that put the number.
The highest rating aside from 1 was 6, and that was by one person. Everyone else was 7 through 9. I think that's a fair assessment.
So most people have them lower middle of the pack.
Yeah, and it's another instance, right, where this is a team that can upset anybody, best of ones especially.
But it feels like it has to be an upset.
It feels like they will be underdogs in a lot of the games they play, especially with some of the roster changes. So I think those are our overall thoughts on Blue Otter. Let's keep the ball rolling, though, with number 8. And we're going to go to Winthrop University here, which is a bit surprising, perhaps. It's a team that finished in the top 5 of the league just last split. And now they're back here at 8. I feel like it's a team that does consistently get doubted. They're one of the other teams that did fully run their roster back. But I think this is a credit to the fact that there's some new, stronger teams that entered the league. And, you can see the average ranking. It's going to be very, very close in terms of, like, the tiers that these guys are going to be considered in for these next couple of rankings.
And again, highest ranking all the way up to top 2. Some Winthrop believers, some Throps are out. Also, lowest ranking 10. I will say, there are also a lot of Winthrop doubters, which I think contributes to their 8th place ranking. Their top 4 finish was very impressive. Excuse me, top 5. Top 5 finish was very impressive. Went 5 games, went the distance with Near Airport, almost taking down the champs 3 times in a row, which would have been so funny. And I think despite that, a lot of people not believing in this team. I mean, we're on year 3 of this roster, more or less, right? The Denethor mobility era of Winthrop. And I think throughout that time, this team has consistently been doubted. I will say I had this team higher. I want to say I had them 6th. I might have had them 7th. I do think this rating partially speaks again to the strength perceived of the NACL. There's a couple of really good teams that have entered the sphere, but I don't know. I think we have consistently seen that Denethor and Mobility can be stars. In Winthrop, they are a fairly complete and competent team. Their fundamentals are very good, even if individually I tend to agree that I think they're outclassed in certain roles, particularly mid-jungle.
It's one of those fun teams where, now that we've gotten to see them play so often and for so long, that we really understand kind of how they operate together. This team does, despite the fact that they have superstars in their side lanes, does like to play through the mid jungle, get store mid prio, and then try to impact the game in that way. And I like the fact that it's kind of like a well-coached collegiate basketball team, right? Where you might only have like 1 or 2 superstars, or one's like guy who's considered to be like an all-pro or whatever, but you have just like such a fundamental understanding of how you play together and how to play the game as a whole, that you end up beating teams that are potentially quote unquote more stacked than you. So that's where I think a lot of the power rankings versus actual performance here for Winthrop end up lying. I do think that Mobility and Denethor once again had great seasons. I think that there were times where Wilson and Sword looked like they were playing really well as well.
Their early games are great, at least.
I'm excited to see what they can do, and it's another one of those stories where even though I had this team 7th, ahead of the team that is next up on our power ranking list, but I think that they definitely can again compete with the top of the table. I mean, I'm going to say that for all the teams as we were going throughout, but this is a team that can get top 4 again. Absolutely.
And here's something I'll say is, I think we're kind of saying for all these teams, games could go either way. Blue Otter, they totally could punch into the playoffs. I think what surprises me about Winthrop being 8th is I would be very shocked if this team went to relegation. I think that is sort of a reaction that I have, especially looking at best of ones. I don't know if you agree with this, Grapes. Even if they came in 8th, I just would be so surprised if they bombed out. I don't know if you agree.
I mean, I don't know. I feel
I think this is an NACL team. This is an NACL team.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, we've also seen Winthrop have lower lows throughout their CLOL season, right, where they just lose a bunch of they have a couple bad weeks in a row, and then we saw Ole Miss, a team that we thought was going to be pretty solid last year in the NACL. They almost made it into the relegation tournament too. So it's you really can't tell, especially with the
Winthrop
amount of
almost
parity
went to
that's in the
relegation.
league. Yeah, I mean, again, the 9th place team is Blue Otter, right? Is that going to be a team that we're expecting to be in the relegation tournament? Maybe not, but that's, there is going to be 2 teams that end up making it there. So I could see it happening, but again, not necessarily expecting it. I have this team 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Winthrop's a good team. I mean, damn, there's a lot of good teams. They're all the way down here at 8th. People doubting the Eagles, though. I don't know. I think they're going to have another good split. I think it's a good team. Let's move on to Conviction.
On to number 7. Ooh, Conviction Esports.
This is a crazy team.
Our meme stream dream team. We got Los Ratones at home. Oh, wait. We don't. We actually have Near Airport at home, which is Conviction. TF Blade, Perry, Catapult, Viper,
if Near Airport is Los Ratones at home, this is like Los Ratones dead in a basement. It's like the drowning child meme.
If this team was a team 5 years ago, and Perry, and maybe Perry's currently Perry, fantastic. This team is going top 3, right? This is a great team. But the big question is, are these players, Cataval, Viper, Stunt specifically, going to be the same players than what we saw them last time they competed at this level? The last time we saw Stunt play in competitive League of Legends was 5 years ago, June of 2020, when he was on 100 Thieves on the LCS team, I will add. But that was the era with Meteos also as their jungler. So
yeah,
it's been a while.
We chatted a little bit about this team on our last episode. I mean, this team is it's funny. It's a funny roster because I also like, what are they gonna do? Because Grapes, I'm gonna be honest. I think the highest ranking 2, lowest ranking 10 is like the most realistic that we've seen so far. Where it's like 2 seems a little high to me, but like I could see a world where this team absolutely bombs out and like is terrible. I mean, there's a lot of strong personalities on this team, and most of them don't have legitimate competitive experience, at least not for a long time. But even like thinking about the veterans on this team, like Perry only really played a couple of years of competitive league. What, like 2 of them being in the NACL, and then he had like 1 extra in tier 3.
He, I think that's he's a veteran. He's played on. He was on Fear
I'm
for
not
that
saying
year.
he's not. I'm just saying he's not.
Toss, they made it to the finals that one season.
Right. No, I know. He's played on good teams. I just mean like, I don't know. Like I'm also looking at this and I'm like, he's not got like a ton of years under his belt. Viper hasn't played much in this decade. Stunt hasn't played much in this decade. Cat Evolve doesn't have real comp experience for the most part, other than that one split. TF Blade has the split. Like there's a lot going on here, but there are a lot of individually talented players. Stunt's been to the LCS. TF Blade is TF Blade. He looked pretty decent last split. He was, he's like middle of the road top laner. I think the biggest problem I have with this roster, Grapes, and the reason why I personally rated them 8th is, to me, if everything goes right, nobody on this team is better than like 4th or 5th best in their role still, and like they're just like okay. Like they're like a good team if everything goes right. And I feel like there's a huge failure case for this team of like TF Blade doesn't have these super veteran LCS players like to like, help him like through the competitive environment. Cat Evolved actually sucks, and like Viper and Stunt, this experiment is terrible, and these guys are super washed. Like I think there's a very real failure case where that happens. I think there's a very real world where Viper and Stunt are the worst bottom lane in the league. And so for that reason, I don't really believe in this team to be a real contender. It's going to be fun to look at and like watch. And I think like realistically, they end up somewhere in the middle, like that 6th, 7th, 8th range. But I don't see them getting that much higher than that.
This is a lot of their chances to. This is like, what's the right way to put this? Almost like a way to test the strength of the NACL in a way, right? Where there's a bunch of like, can these 5 high-ranked solo queue players with previous competitive experience, who knows how much effort they're putting into scrims and stuff? I really don't actually know the answer to that question, but if they're able to like just show their individual skill and do really well, that's credit to them and a credit to like NA solo queue even, where like if you can play really well in that environment, that can come with competitive success. But if not, maybe it's proof that some of these competitive players have a little bit of extra sauce, that it's not just the solo queue rank, it's not just this or that gets you to that stage. I'm very excited to see what Cat Evolve looks like. I remember back in 2020, that's when I first started watching like tier 2 League of Legends in North America, and he was on a team that made it to the finals with Dokla and Winnie, and it was Cat Evolve on that team as well. And it was Lost in Streets as their bot lane. Like that was a pretty fun team, and he kind of vanished after that. He never really made it on another team. I know all the LS tweets are about him, like definitely sparked a lot of like discourse and kind of memes and things like that. But if this guy's good, like that's good for the region and that's good for us as a whole, especially if he wants to continue to go to competitive play. I know he played in like the Spanish league last year, so that is the one player I definitely have my eyes on.
Yeah, I think like realistically, this top side could definitely be good. I just like, I don't know. I'm so negative on this team because Grapes, I'm going to ask you just like a point blank question. Do you think there is a higher than 10% chance that for each of these players that one of them ends up being like top 3 in role, like MVP candidate, like kind of shit, or like, because I just feel like even if like everyone's playing well, I'm like, oh, they're like middle of the road in their roles. And that's good. Like that means you're an NACL team and that means you're competing. But I'm also just like, I don't see this like crazy upside with anybody.
I'd say for the top 3, for TF Blade, Parry, and Cat Evolved, it's all possible, especially considering the relative strength of their respective positions, right? I could even say the same for Viper and Stunt, except I think that bot lane and support are just a little bit more stacked overall, like player-wise. So
I think
like,
mid is pretty stacked too. I'm gonna put that out there.
Pretty stacked too. Yeah, it's pretty good. But I don't know. I think I could see Cat Evolve like making an all-pro team potentially. Like if everything kind of goes well, as well as like other things kind of
Okay.
not going as well. Like I think they have that ceiling, and I think that it's not super likely that that ceiling is hit, but there's a chance.
Okay. I mean, I was like kind of curious on your thoughts on that because I think that's where I'm at. Is like, I think realistically everyone's like fifth, sixth best in their roles. This team maybe comes fifth, sixth, but I have them eighth because I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much of a failure case. Conviction is for sure an interesting team, though. I think it's going to be a really contentious one. If I had to guess, this team probably had the most variance in their ratings, or probably pretty close to it,
I did
which
not
makes
do
sense that they
the
sort of
full
ended up in this like
statistical
lower
analysis.
middle of the pack. But I mean, it's definitely gonna be a fun story to follow. Like, I'm excited to watch this team. I'm excited to see what they can do. I don't. Let me pull up. Let me pull up the schedule because I'm really curious who they play week 1.
First game's against Supernova. That's tomorrow
That's a big
or today,
test.
as you're seeing it.
No spoilers, but that's a big test. Ooh, okay, Grapes. They have Supernova, DarkZero, and Citadel. Wait, you
Oh,
lied, by
sorry,
the way. They're
I
not.
said
No,
it
they
wrong.
played DZ and Citadel week
I
1.
read the logo wrong. That's what it was. I thought it was the
Okay,
dark logo. It's DarkZero versus Conviction, first game.
that's a big test day 1. But I think if they can be very competitive against the Citadel on day 2, that's like extremely promising for this team.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the stream team looks like, and I hope that they do turn on their stream to get to look into the comms and things like that as well throughout the day. I'm very curious to see how this experiment works, both for the players as well as Conviction, the organization itself. Number 6, the last team in our bottom 5, is Dorado Gaming, one of the newest teams. Fatachan out, Sushi of Near Airport fame now in, reunited with Mixture. You know, Fatachan, it seemed like he wanted to go to a different organization, and this is the easiest decision to go and grab this guy to both reunite him with Mixture as well as just being one of the more exciting prospects that we have here in the NACL.
Yeah, and a lot of variance with this team as well. Big Dorado believer, probably someone associated with the org at number 1. Grapes, if you can get me a same thing, like what's the highest rating by like not that one number 1, but also
3.
people with them down at 10. So up to 3. I am on the hype train of I think Dorado could be a great team. I want to say I put them at number 5. Ariana, Kaido, Shochi, Sushi, Mixture. Look, I know that something people are going to hold against these players is that 4 out of 5 of them are not household NACL names. And Shochi, even then, only has like 2 really good splits under his belt where like he was like fantastic, right? And it's an unknown team. It's 5 players that were not playing the NACL last split. But I've got to say, this team is oozing talent. And Fatachan to Sushi is a side grade at worst, an upgrade at best. This is a team fighting prodigy. Lightning needs some work, but he's back with his favorite support Mixture. I think Ariana, Kaido, and Shochi, they all have the ability to carry and facilitate. I think something that's impressed me a lot about all 3 of these players is that none of the 3 of them feel locked into a particular style. Shochi, I've been calling the Swiss Army knife of League of Legends for years. I feel like this team can do a lot. I think there's a lot of talent. I think there's a lot of upside. You know, I do think there's a failure case. I do think there is variance for this team, but with the form that they were on, with how they blasted through OQs in the promotion tournament, I do not see a world where they're at the bottom of the table.
It's so interesting to see a team that's ranked 6 feature 5 players that did not play in the NACL 1 split ago. Same goes for one of our other teams that came through the promotion tournament, right, that we have not gone through yet. But the fact that these are, yeah, again, 3 players making their rookie, or 2 players making their like first ever NACL appearance, Sushi making his first like full-time start as a starter.
Yep.
Kaido and Shochi haven't been a part of the league in I guess a whole split or so at this point. Shochi specifically, I think this guy's gonna have a big split. I think he's been really kind of I think he's gotten a bad rap kind of almost unfairly. When you think about what he was able to do on that Cincinnati Fear team, really special. We were considering him to be one of the top prospects, one of the guys that we could see making it to the LTA one day. And then he joined a Supernova team that kind of just all boomed at the wrong time. They lost 2 series in a row and were knocked out of playoffs, finished 7th, 8th. And then you're replaced by Toasty because you had to make a change, and you join another team in CCG that also falls apart because your teammate Minui gets kind of poached by DSG, and you have to like scramble last minute to try to make something work there. So it was a rough year, kind of I would say almost outside of his control for a lot of it on Shochi's side. And given how he played in the promotion tournament, specifically with Dorado, this guy's to me fully back, and I'm very excited to see him
I
back
mean,
out on the stage once again.
I think something that speaks to this team for me is I think Shochi is playing really well, and I think in the promotion tournament he was the worst player on his team, and that's like not a knock. I'm just like, damn, everyone's playing great. I'm gonna stake my claim right now. I think Kaido's a top half jungler in this league. I think Ariana is probably a top half top laner in this league. These guys are really good. These guys are really talented, and everyone already knows what I think about Sushi and Mix, man. Like, I think these are some really great players. They all have like top 5, top 3 ceilings in their future. And it's like it's just gonna be a matter of like how quickly they come together and like how quickly they can they keep up with Titans. Because definitely something this team will be lacking compared to some of these other teams is like that experience, that discipline that some of them do have. But Dorado knows how they want to play the game, and they're very talented. And like I think this team can absolutely do it. I think it's totally fair to have them at like 6. It's like kind of a trepidatious, like, will they be good? Won't they? But I am erring on the side of this team is great.
I have this team 6th. This is a team that I think would have really benefited from having best of 3 regular season. The fact that they're gonna have just best of 1 and not a lot of time to like fully like learn and grow, like specifically for the bot lane, I would think like just getting more reps would be really good for them. I think they would have. I think with more time, like maybe this team would get better. I hope that they are able to reach their true ceiling, because I don't even think we got there during the promotion tournament with like how good some of these guys really could be. But again, I think this team could finish top half. They could finish top 4. Heck, there's a world where this team like even somehow shocks everybody and makes the promotion tournament. Like I think
I would
like,
not. I would not count
there.
this team out. I would not count this team out. I think Shibby also had them in his dark horse category. I've not seen too many NACL tier lists on Twitter, but Shibby did one, so I'm gonna quote that one.
Salt Mine just did their power rankings as well, so we gotta see how we do compared to them at the end of the split.
I wonder if any of the Salt Mine guys filled out our Google form. They're in the Discord, but
yeah.
I was gonna say something, and now I don't remember. But I was just gonna be like, I'm just gonna state my biases right now, y'all. Dorado's the team I'm most excited to watch for this entire split. Like I think this team's so exciting. I'm so happy that like they made no roster changes after promoting that were like their choice. Fadachan chose to leave, so they found the next best option. Get the fucking kid, and I'm so glad they got Sushi, man. So like I think they're doing it right. I think these players have so much upside. Like I just think I'm just excited to watch this team and see what they do. I think it's gonna be fun.
Well, let's get into our top 5 teams, starting with number 5, CCG Esports. And whoa, that is a much different roster than what we saw last time around. And even though they're 5th, just like they were last time around, or they ended up 6th in the end of the playoffs in Split 1, this team, I think, is potentially even more exciting.
Another tough team to rate, and this is the only other team, by the way, that was not rated top 2. You thought it would be the 9th place team. You were fucking wrong. It's CCG at number 5. Highest rating was 4th. Lowest was 9th. And it kind of goes to show that I think there is a very strong top 3 in the NACL, as we'll see in the future. So it kind of souped all the other teams downwards a little bit. But CCG, prevailing towards the top of that, another like very contentious, difficult team to rate amongst many people in the space, because Grapes, I look at the names on this team and again, like oozing talent, man. You got Crimson, we've seen what he can do. Young at his peak is the best mid laner in the NACL, other than like maybe Insanity. And then like Music and Shogo, dude, like these guys have been so good. Shogo, pretty bad introduction to the NACL. I think a lot of belief that he can be better from a lot of people, myself included. And then we got Fadi in support. He chose to role swap to support after being electric at AD carry. A little sad that we lost a really strong ADC. I think for me, the biggest question mark on this roster, but I think him and Shogo wanted to play together. So, I mean, shoot, let's see it, man.
Music as well, being another one of those like kind of EU transplants. Or he was in EU for a little bit, now it's back here in North America. Of course, that he's going to be a big shot caller for this team. I think that's going to be very helpful for a player like Shogo, and for somebody like Crimson as well up in the top side. Very curious to see what him and Music are able to do together up there. very, very thrilled to see Young back in the league. I think this
I'm happy
guy
to see him back too.
was,
His road
again,
was not done. His road was not done when he left.
towards the top of the table in terms of like what we thought um, of mid laners, like when he was at his peak, when he was on Disguise, when he was on even like
He was the
the
best in the league
AoE,
for that one split on
the Golden
Disguised.
Guardians. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, he had a lot of really cool times with these different teams, and I still remember like it took him a while to finally get that tier 2 shot. He proved it. He won NACL, and then had a rough year on DSG. I think some of it in his control, some of it out of it. You know, just part of different rosters here or there. I'm glad that it didn't end on that note because I think there's more in the tank for this
Yeah.
guy.
Honestly, I feel like Young and Shochi have a really similar career trajectory in my head. Like as far as their timing hitting the NACL, their performances in certain years, and how thrilled I am to see them back. I really do think Young's story's not over. I think he's got a lot of potential, and man, playing around music, I gotta say, if Crimson and Young are in form, which is not a guarantee, but if Crimson and Young are in form, this is an insanely stacked top side. You've got two amazing carries in Crimson and Young, and then Music is like fucking facilitator, shot caller extraordinaire. This guy's got a better mind for the game than 90% of the players in this league, and I think this bot lane like will be really strong. How strong, kind of up for debate. We'll see how Fadi looks. We'll see how Shogo looks, but like I don't think they'll be bad if I had to guess, right? So, like I think this team has it looks scary, man. Like it's a great team. And I would say this is the first team that we've come across, and I think deservedly being fifth grapes, where I feel like if everybody is playing their best, they can punch into the top of the table.
Like they could win the split or
Yeah.
finish top 2. Yeah.
They could win the split. They can make promotion.
Yeah, there's a world where I could say the same about some of those other teams, but now that we're in the top 5, like certainly, like contender here with CCG. Yeah, I mean, I'll go out and say it. I was one of the people who ranked this team 4th.
Yeah, I had them
I was
fourth.
part of
I
the
had them
highest
fourth as
ranking
well.
here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts about what this team really can do. And hey, if Fadichan doesn't work out at support position, you know, Shogun can always press the Rhino button. I think you know he probably show
Grab
up for a
Rhino,
couple
grab
games.
Cryo.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
Cryo's on DZ, but
Yeah. I'm excited to see what CCG do. And yeah, I mean, that just about does it. Here we can go into our number 4 team in the league. It is our last team joining from the promotion tournament, and this is the Citadel Gaming roster, retaining everybody from the promotion tournament. Of course, Diamond and Kenby kind of slotting in. And yeah, this is gonna be a fun one.
yeah. I had this team 6 personally, mostly for spice. I wanted to put Dorado ahead of them, because, you know, I wanted to like stake the claim of like, oh, Dorado hype, they were the best team in the promotion tournament or whatever. And I think CCG can be better than this team, but I think it makes a lot of sense that people mostly had them higher rated. I think they were rated 4th by a lot of people, and it makes sense. Like you just look at the names on this team: Philip, Kenby, Bradley, Instinct, Diamond. These are all players that have had more than success at the NACL level. I mean, they've been brilliant. They've been considered the best in their roles at different times. So I can see the want for that expectation. I'm still like, I'm still a little bit of a doubter. You know, they rolled through the promotion tournament. They looked really good in their promotion tournament for sure against inferior competition, I would say. But they looked really good. But like I've also seen this team look pretty bad in my eyes, and like I have no reason to believe they'll regress. But it's just like I just want to make sure that they're actually showing up to play, that they're actually at their peaks. I think the most telling thing for me here, Grapes, is their lowest rating is a lot higher. There's no one that's like thinking this team's gonna suck, and I think that's accurate. Like, I don't think there's a failure case for this team. This team will like at worst be like middle of the table probably.
Yeah, I think 6 being like the floor is probably pretty.
It like
accurate
sounds
for
about
them.
right. Yeah.
It seems like they're just going to be. I think consistency is going to be the make or break for this squad, right? If they're able to be as good as like we think that they can be, like on a day in day out basis, like they'll be higher than 4th. If not, they'll be lower than 4th. I think Kenby having a really good promotion tournament inspired a lot of confidence in me.
Yes,
He was a
because
guy
he was, in my opinion, the worst player. So I'm really like he
yeah.
total 180, and it
I
was
mean,
great.
his time in CELO was not ideal, like what they look like. But again, they won ACL, they won the promotion tournament, and this team is just they were too talented to be playing in the OQs. They got unlucky and they ran into the third place team in NACL, in their elimination match after dropping one random one, and now they're here, maybe a little bit later than expected, but hey, doesn't really matter what happens in split one as long as you can finish top two here in split two.
Yeah.
If you have that ultimate goal of making the promotion tournament, which the Citadel definitely does.
And again, you look at the names, like this team can obviously win the split. I think the biggest thing for me is like still the Bradley mid lane experiment, right? He's yet to have major tier 2 success in this role. He's insane in team fights, man. Bradley's team fighting is filth. Has been really up and down in the laning. I think Philip, I can throw the same criticism for. Like the biggest issue I had with the Citadel watching their games, I think they were just like very kind of went with the game flow in the first like 10 minutes. But if they got to team fights, they would just crush you. And so that was something that they looked a lot better on in the promotion tournament. That was like a major mark of improvement. I think Diamond in particular was like him and Kenvi, they like really stepped up and like were making major plays. And if they can keep doing that, yeah, like this team's a contender for sure. I put them 6th for like sauce, but like I think this team's really good. So I'm just gonna be honest.
Also confirmed, Citadel will be playing in ACL for this season, which
Fuck yeah.
gives me extra brownie points for their rating as well. So shout out to Citadel, finally here, maybe a little bit later than expected again, but no time like the present to start playing some damn good League of Legends. Let's get into our top 3, and a very new look Supernova roster kicks us off. Hoarder, Dardock, Ablaze Olive, Scary Jerry, and Breezy. 3 players with LTA experience, one as recently as last split. And then you got one of the best consistent supports in the league to go alongside your superstar ADC, and one of the youngest, most exciting top lane prospects.
I mean, Grapes, last split we had a conversation of like, man, Breezy's never really been on a top team. Here we go. He's here. This Supernova team is fucking stacked. I'm going to be honest. I think this is the best bot lane in the league. Sorry, Luminosity. I think it's this. Wow. I think it's Jerry and Breezy, man. I think these guys are so good. I'm not wanting to go against them. And, you know, Dardock, ABO, like they're gonna we just know they're gonna be great. I think a lot of belief being put here in Hoarder, easily the biggest question mark on the team. Grapes, I had this team number 2. I think they're so stacked. I think Hoarder as at worst good enough to not weigh this team down, and at best could become a star alongside everybody else. But I mean, like everybody on this team is minimum top 3 in their role, except for maybe Hoarder to start with, and I just don't see a world where this team is bad. I like this lowest rating being 8th. Crazy. I can't believe that.
Somebody must just like, yeah, just be a big Supernova hater. Which, you know what, I you know, respect
there's reasons.
To you. Honestly,
there's reasons. Yeah.
I guess. I'm really excited to see Scary Jerry back. I feel like he was never really put in the best position to succeed. We've had all our conversations about that. It'd be great to see him make it to the promotion tournament and try to like knock out DSG. I think that's like a great narrative.
And he's not back with DarkZero either. You know, he's not with Zyko anymore. He's with a new guy.
Yeah.
New look.
New guy in Breezy. Wow, yeah. I mean, first guy that he's ever played with outside of Zyko, like, or Shady, I guess, like since
or Huhi, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yes,
this team's gonna be good. I think Hoarder like really had a solid year. Like he was a big question mark for me going into last split. He's not really that much of a question mark for me anymore. I think that he's going to be a very good top laner. He will contend with like the top of the table. He might even make an all-pro depending on how things go for him. I think I would honestly say the same for a player like Dardock and ABO. A lot of players here like top in their role, and that's just a very talented team being put together right now.
I think for me, Hoarder is still a question mark in the sense of like, will he be a top tier top laner? We'll see. But he's going to be good. And that's something that he really proved with conviction. Like he had some great moments. He was definitely a very competent top laner. He played very well. And so like, yeah, I absolutely have reason to believe like he will continue on that trajectory. I'm just curious to see like how high he can go, especially when a conversation that we've had, Grapes, kind of as we've now unveiled most of the teams, is with Zamudo gone. I think it's just like a huge soup of top laners that we feel like are kind of mid. Hoarder was one of those people that started to separate himself last split. I would love to see if he can do it again, because to me, everybody else on the Supernova team is a known quantity. They are going to be here to compete.
The reason I'm not like ranking this team higher, I had this team third, not second as you did. The reason I had them number 3 is that the 2 teams above them retaining a big core of players, and this is a roster of like 5 completely new faces, kind of being mishmashed together. And the roster is very talented. I think we can, like, without a doubt say that. The question is like, how will they merge together? Will it take a little bit of time, especially with the best of ones and the shorter season leading into things? That maybe I just have a little bit more faith in the teams that have already done it and have already made it to the finals. It's spoiler alert, like the last 2 teams made it to the finals last season.
I mean, you say that, but going on to number 2, DarkZero's looking pretty different, Grapes. That top side is brand new.
I consider Toasty to kind of just be a part of that MU core a little bit, and so like to me it's just like 2.5, maybe 3 of the 5 players returning. But yes, DarkZero is new, looking different. They have no longer retained Zamudo or Yuji on their team, which is a big part of the reason why we had them at number 1 in the power rankings last time around. They're going to be replaced by Kizno, who had a great split on Conviction and now is getting a fantastic opportunity to prove himself on a top team. And K, I think is what we're saying. K, who is a top laner from,
I don't know,
I believe,
yeah.
Latin America, who is going to be competing with DarkZero for this split. He's 23. I believe he was on a team that made it to the LRN finals last split, and now he's here on a team that made it to the NACL finals last split.
So, off the bat, I have no idea how to rate this top laner. I know nothing about him other than like what you just told us. Like, I know the surface level stuff. I don't know how good this guy is. That's immediately something to me that I'm like, I don't know how to rate this team. Sajet and Zyko, top 3 bot lane in the league. Like, the top 3 teams just have the top 3 bot lanes. They're going to be super good. Toasty, everyone thinks he's going to be good. Big ups to Kizno, man. I felt like he was probably the second best jungler last split. I think he's super deserving of this award, or this honor, I guess, of going to DarkZero, this position he's found himself in. I think Kizno is so damn good. I really just think the problem for DarkZero is they lost 3 of their best players. I mean, everyone's fucking insane, but like losing Zamudo, Yuji, and Spyrax is pretty tough. I have no reason to believe that Toasty will be worse than Spyrax, but like he needs to not be. I just think like, are K and Kizno going to be the same as Zamudo and Yuji? I don't know. I think Kizno can get there. I think I have been a huge Kizno believer. Graves, both you and I have been like kind of there since day one for this guy. I think he continues to get better. I think the thing that's impressed me the most about Kizno is he has not locked himself into a certain style as a jungler, like we see so many other players do at this point in their careers. Like, he's not the carry player, he's not the facilitator. He's been able to do it both, and he's been able to find success on the same team playing both those styles over the course of his career. We've seen him carry games and then the next game turn around and play Maokai. It's really impressive. I think he's got a great mind for the game. I think Kizno's had a meteoric rise, and this is definitely a big time for him to prove himself on this DarkZero team. I'm
very excited to see what he can do. Like, this is certainly the best roster he's ever been a part of, like in terms of NACL level, and he's definitely one of the raw players, like raw talents, like that are joining this team, even with somebody like Toasty, who has that full year of NACL experience already under his belt. This guy's going to be a big question mark and a big reason as to why DarkZero get back to the NACL finals, get back to the promotion tournament, or do not. And I'm really rooting for him because he's been a great guy to talk to, great guy to follow kind of throughout the start of his career back in 2023. It's only his 3rd year of competitive League of Legends,
crazy,
by the
man.
way, which is even making things more impressive for somebody like him. This team also just spent the entire 2 months in Korea. I actually saw some of them back when I was there. Toasty, Kizno, and Zyko were all hanging out. Sajet and K hadn't arrived at that point, but they went through a big boot camp. They trained up. They still have Tenacity and Cryo as like subs on the team as well. Not sure if they're going to be really utilized in any meaningful capacity, but I think that they've had a lot of time to create something that can be, I think considered. Like they had time to cultivate and build up that synergy, even though they didn't play last split. Like the time in Korea, I think also adds to the fact that some of the players are returning from the finalists last year.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I will say though, DarkZero being rated number 2 by the community, I think big responsibility here on Kizno and Toasty to try to be the best mid jungle in the league. I think they have that in them, but they need to be it because we can move on to number 1. And my oh my, what a stacked lineup. It's the former champs, the reigning champs, I should say. Fake God, Tomio, Insanity, Tactical, and Zeyzal. And beating Tomio and Insanity is difficult. Beating Tactical and Zeyzal is difficult. Beating Fake God is difficult.
There's not much else to say, I honestly, right? Like this team is incredible. They won the split. It took a little bit of adjust. Like they lost their first game to DZ, which was the team with Zamudo and Yuji on it, and then they really never looked back since after that. They basically dominated the rest of the way. They're gonna be really good. I mean, they're gonna be the favorites to win. They are the favorites to win. I would say every one of these guys is the favorite to be number 1 in their role at their respective position. And it's a great test for the rest of the league to try to match up against them. There's a reason why we said we think 2 through 9 is pretty competitive. It's because we think this is a pretty unanimous number 1. They dominated DarkZero in the grand finals. Obviously, Shimmer or /Kryra were playing at that point, and it was kind of just like a random roster slapped together after they won CLOL. But with some of the changes that DarkZero made, I think it's pretty clear that these are the odds-on favorite to promote.
Yeah, I mean, Grapes, it just feels to me like no team will beat Luminosity unless they have a major glow up. And that's definitely not impossible at all. But, I mean, a bunch of guys off of DarkZero just got promoted to the LTA. Their biggest competition, Luminosity's, is gone, right? And that's not to say that, there aren't players that can contend with these guys, but are all 5 of them on the same team? And can they not just contend, but really smack them down? Ooh, I don't know, right? That's a huge question that I personally have heading into this, and I think a lot of people have. I mean, you can see that average ranking 1.188. Basically, everyone had them number 1 unanimously, except for a couple XDers along the way. I think I'm pretty sure no one unironically put Supernova or DarkZero over this team. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure no one unironically had this team second or worse. And I'm just gonna say, in the words of one of the North American greats, Mr. Zeyzal down there in the bot lane, look, we were consistently the 7th best team in the LCS. So to get back, we just have to play like that again. And fuck, he's not wrong, man. He's not wrong.
The 3 teams, the three ballots that had Luminosity second, one had DarkZero, one had Blue Otter first, and one had Dorado first.
Okay, so there's one, presumably one serious ballot that had this team rated second.
Maybe this guy thinks Dorado's unironically the best team. Who knows?
You get what I'm saying though. Yeah.
Shout out Miliana. It's definitely. No, I'm just kidding. Just a guess, a little prediction. But yeah, LG. This team's gonna be good. I think the best way to put it is that they are a great litmus test. If a team can beat them, I think they absolutely are the odds-on favorite to promote.
Now, how much stock do we put in Luminosity potentially going undefeated or not in best of ones though? If they drop a game to Dorado, is Dorado the greatest team of all time, or is it best of ones? You know what I mean?
It probably depends on how they look. I would lean more towards best of ones, just always. I think it's just going to be over a large sample size, the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah.
I would say more in a best of 5 series. If Luminosity is seriously contested and there's a very dominant team in the league, that means that team is going to promote into the LTA and beat the Skies in my eyes. If not, if Luminosity does run the floor, I would say it's going to be competitive with them and DSG. I think we kind of understand what this team's ceiling is, what their floor is, and I think at the way that things are currently constructed, like I would favor them probably right now over Disguise, but um, if a team like is able to come in and kind of destroy them and like really pass over them, that means that they've shown significant improvements, whether it's Supernova or DZ. I would definitely favor one of those teams to promote.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I mean, we're talking about making it to the promotion tournament. Luminosity, odds-on favorites to win the league, but I'm going to go as far to say I think there is a less than 5% chance this team's not in the promotion tournament. I think there is such a slim chance this team doesn't make finals. Like, yes, Supernova, DarkZero, Citadel, all those guys, like, there are threats. You can't just like sweepwalk through the league. I think this team is like such an overwhelming favorite, and maybe the best way to kind of continue this conversation is to go on to the final slide, where we also ask the community not just to power rank the teams, but also power rank all the players. Now, this is something that Grapes and I have like sort of avoided doing in the past because it gets a little controversial. We do it in our own ways every time, and this is just another way we've done it. It's sort of like basically, you know, we asked everyone, hey, rate the players from like who's the best, who's the worst in role, and Luminosity Gaming takes the cake. They are one straight down top to bottom, and Supernova, funnily enough, team that was voted third. They've got 4 or 5. So maybe Zyko is just that goddamn good.
I think it's more like a couple of people like ranked Supernova 8th, and then just like ends up being like that. There's a lot of very closely contested selections here. K ended up being 4th. But there were some people who had him like 12. Like we put the subs on here just like as a little thought experiment. Some people had like K like 12th and 13th, which I can understand because we know literally nothing about this guy. However, from just like the stuff that I've heard, I ended up like ranking him in my top 5 somewhere. He should probably, if there was like a better consensus and if we were more knowledgeable, I think he'd probably end up on a different spot on the list.
Grapes, in my head, every top laner from Hoarder to TF Blade on this list is like the same in my brain skill wise. You know, like some of them have stood out here and there, but they're all like on the same tier. And my expectation is that K will probably fall into that unless he's like cracked, and then like he maybe separates himself. You know, I don't think he's probably not going to be worse. But I definitely agree that made like top lane a little hard to rate. Funnily enough, substitute top laner for DarkZero's Tenacity. Yeah, he was number 2.
just happened to
you know, like, food for thought.
Like that. Yeah, I don't know if I agree he's number 2, but yeah, he's a good player.
I had him pretty high.
Top lane and jungle seem like they're a little shallower than we might expect, a little shallower than the rest.
I don't know about shallower. I think they're not as top heavy.
I guess that's what I mean. Like the top of the table, like the pool is not as deep. I could see like there's less people that I could see being like the best top laner in the league and the best jungler in the league versus like best mid laner in the league almost, like if that makes sense, or ADC or even support. Just like the overall strength of the role, I guess, is stronger for me towards the bottom of the map than the top.
Grapes, I gotta say something funny too. Looking at the junglers, Kenvi in between Kisno in between Dardoch and Kenvi, I think both speaks to him being rated above Kenvi, how well Kisno played last split, but then also being behind Dardoch. How many fucking times does Kisno need to beat Dardoch for him to be rated above Dardoch? Because like I said, I think if you remove Yuji from the equation, I personally think Kisno is the second best jungler in the league last split. I had him number 2. I think Dardoch's great, but like I think it's so funny how it simultaneously speaks to how much Kisno has grown, but like he cannot. Him and Dardoch are like inseparable. They've played each other like literally 20 times.
That is true. I mean, but like literally Kisno's entire career, he's had to play against Dardoch. Like these guys have matched up in the same league like almost every single split. He's followed him into the NACL, followed him out of the NACL, followed him back into the NACL, and now it ends up in a world where they're performing well enough to be the top 3 junglers according to our general audience perception. I think that also, like, I think players like Kenvi, Music, and Perry might have had higher perceptions in the past, but maybe their recent performances ended up bumping them down a little bit, which allows for Kisno and Dardoch to kind of rise up. In terms of players that I think are being slept on just by the way that the list is set up and the way the numbers end up working out, I think Music is one of them at 5. I think Young at 7 is probably a little bit lower than he might end up being, at least in my opinion, because of just how how big the mid lane kind of pool is, and also we haven't seen him in a while. And then Chrome and Mobility still sitting at 6 and 7 after I think they both individually had very good splits.
I feel like 2024 Young is this like number 7 rating. I think 2023 Young is right up there with the big boys of like Toasty,
he's like 1 or 2.
Insanity. Yeah, like he's right up there with them. He definitely clears the rest of these cats if he plays like that. I don't think he will, but like I also don't think he'll be bad. So I think the like 7th place rating is pretty fair. I think I put him above Sammy. It hurt me to put Sammy at 7. Other player, I think Sushi at 8 is like again numerically a snub, but like holy fuck, how stacked is AD carry in our region right now? Like,
he's got to prove it.
Yeah, no, and so it's like I think I put him at 8 as well, but it's like, oh my god, like our role is crazy right now. He's got a ton of people that he has to prove he's better than, and yet I still feel like he's like an insanely good ADC. I also want to say, like, not a snub. Shout out to Rovex, all the way up there at 5. Like I said, I think he's actually really like proven himself to be a consistent NACL support. Rovex has been playing very good League of Legends for the past year and a half. Hope to continue to see it. I do think there's a bit of a fall off like between the top 4 supports and the rest, but good to see Rovex leading the charge there.
After so many years of people saying like, man, there's no good native mid laners, there's no good native ADCs, I feel like these 2 positions might be like the most stacked in our tier 2 ecosystem.
I would agree. I would agree.
Does that necessarily mean that these guys like can immediately transfer to success at tier 1? Like, no. But in terms of how good these guys are in their respective positions, I think that they're the 2 strongest roles in the league.
I gotta say too, I was talking about Salty Runback fans having dog shit takes. Chrome being number 6 AD carry after the split he just had, you guys are going to be hearing from his lawyers. I can guarantee that. What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
It doesn't help that Scary Jerry and Instinct have joined the league, and these are both guys.
It does not. Chrome clears Instinct. Come on, guys. Get it together, man. Scary Jerry coming in, I get it. But, like, come on. This guy should have been a number 4. Or like, maybe number 5. But, like,
I had him at a
6?
After the split.
I had him ahead of Shogo too, and I'm like Shogo Glazer, so like when I put him ahead of Shogo, I think I had him at number 4. So
yeah, I don't want to put too much stock into this. I think overall, like when an individual is doing the power rankings, like you have to take everything with a grain of salt based off of like biases and things like that. But I like the way that. Sorry, I just did the thing.
That's good. That's good. I like that one.
Now that it's like all kind of aggregated and it's like 15 people, 16 people, all adding their contributions. This is kind of just like what the Salty Runback community thinks. General perception overall of like where these guys are placed. And I think that's a cool thing. Even if we don't necessarily agree with everything, it goes to show like, hey, these are where overall the public perceives things right now. And it'll be a fun thing to look back on by the end of the split.
And I think it shows like a good aggregate because even though like again like I could be like Chrome should be number 4, like whatever, but like I think like I like generally look at this and I'm like, seems about right to me, even if I'd like move things around here or there. There's definitely players that I want to like hype up that like may be lower on the tier list, but I do agree. Like it's just a fun way to set expectations and to kind of get like a temp check on where do we feel everyone's going to be individually, where do we feel the teams are going to be as a whole, and then like can we look back and see who comes out on top, because every split in the NACL somebody goes on a heater and we never expect it. So like one of these motherfuckers down here is going to go crazy and I cannot wait.
Yeah. I guess any last thoughts before the season officially kicks off here, Hawk? I mean, we kind of laid down the groundwork for what our expectations are overall this season, but it should be a fun one overall. I know we weren't super thrilled about the format and we had our conversation about that, but still the fact that these are 10 teams battling for 2 spots to play against Disguise, to try to get into the LTA. I know we've talked about this almost for a year at this point. I remember we were trying to hype up the fact that, like NACL is going to be like a path to the LTA or the LCS at that point, like back last summer. It's finally happening, and it kind of feels surreal.
Yeah, we're finally here, and I'm happy that the NACL is stacked for it. I think that's what we were always expecting this entire time. And so we've kind of arrived at this point. I'm just sad we have to say goodbye to 2 teams so quickly. But at least the other 8 are going to get to enjoy a really great playoff bracket. And so I think that'll be very exciting to watch. And like I think this is the most must watch that NACL is ever going to have been because of the stakes of promotion, and also because I think once we narrow it down to that top 8 grapes, I think every single series is going to be cannot miss League of Legends if you're a fan of North America. Like there's going to be some great games, some great games. And like I said, somebody in here is gonna do something dastardly to somebody up here.
Definitely. We'll be back next week to recap the first week of the season. Of course, get into all the other stuff as well. Keep an eye out for the Patreon content. We're going to really sit down and figure that out shortly about like how we're going to tackle it. We have some fun ideas that we've kind of shot around, and we're going to get into that very, very soon. Follow us on all of our social media. We'll be following the league and keeping track of everything in our Discord as well, Hawk. NACL is finally here. Let's have a good season. Let's have a good 2025 split too.
Yeah, let's do it. Check us out on our social media at Salty Runback NA, at Hawkcast, at Speedy Grapes. Make sure you join the Discord. And well, Grapes already said it. If you don't like what we said, then take what you said with a grain of salt. This is all on you. Get out of here. These are your bad takes. Bye.